You introduced me to this halfway through last year, and I very grateful. Read all the books and read it all when I finally caught up. Then did it all online. I read a lot, but they were like full on taking over. Like I'm sitting at my chair. I've got 5. I'm just going to rip through them now in an hour and a half. I was spoilt. Because then I got the manga bug and went and got like the manga app. I'm like, I have to wait a week for 10 pages.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to sit and wait for this series to get going and then I'll read.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think JuJutsu Kaisen, the reading experience for me was one of the best reading experiences I've ever had.
It's good because it's only 30 volumes. Unlike other mangas which are like have been going on for years and years and years, and there's like so many omnibuses that you have to read through.
300 odd chapters, which is the equivalent of like 1/3 of Bleach or whatever. Like, you know,
This you can really go through one of these like so quickly.
and the dialogue's light, like unlike Hunter x Hunter, which will be
Put up a Hunter x Hunter panel right now. JuJutsu Kaisen doesn't even try to do that.
Nah.
It does at times because there's a complex power system in there. If you want to go deep.
Yeah. If not, it's just we've got energy. People have got one special move that they can use.
Perfect. And then here's watching them fight. And you really learn just as much through watching them use it, through them do it.
I was very new to all this, but I'm reading Kagurabachi, and that like has a very like you're just going to learn as we go. Like I'm not going to pause and go here we go, like because I'm watching Hunter x Hunter. It's like the episode opens on the kids being told how the magic works in class. And I'm just here like 3-4 minutes. I'm like, I'd love to learn while we were doing it. Like, you know, I'm like, show don't tell. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I appreciate JuJutsu Kaisen for its quick pace. Is how I'd always describe
it's good.
it.
JuJutsu Kaisen is a great entry point because it's considered one of the new era big 3. They like to consider it as, you know, you had your Naruto, your Bleach, your One Piece, and then now you have your Demon Slayer, your JuJutsu Kaisen, your My Hero Academia, like
kind of, and like Chainsaw Man's in
there's
there.
Like a lot of like them that are like, you stop trying to fit it into the box. You know, the Great Awakening has happened. All right. I was an anime manga fan before the Great Awakening. All right. Back when I was being made fun of in high school for watching Naruto Shippuden week to week, watching Soul Eater on Kiss Anime. All right. Back in 2011. What's really sparked the making of this episode is the release of JuJutsu Kaisen Season 3, The Culling Game Part 1.
We are out of the Shibuya incident, which I think would be considered the high point by most people in terms of the series.
I think Shibuya Incident probably got people in on the whole thing. Like, I think people saw clips of Shibuya Incident.
For sure. When I was reading it, it felt like we've entered into a new level of quality. Like him as like his pacing, his art, everything just kind of jumped up.
So much happens in the Shibuya section.
Like in a night.
Gege really just put pen to ass.
It's crazy how the anime improves even through season 1. Like it starts off as a pretty basic looking anime in terms of its animation. Like there's the bit with Naname's fighting Mahito, and it like doesn't look fantastic.
Like that first sewer fight?
Yeah, when he's like running and jumping. And then by the end, like when you've got Maki versing her sister, way better animation. Like they just
That's
slowly,
where it actually,
yeah,
when we
it's
rewatched it, we were like,
oh, it's
okay,
kicked up the
this is
gear,
where
yeah.
they gave him a bit more money.
Yeah.
And then all of season 2 is just like...
is incredible.
Incredible.
And I think it's like a new showrunner or lead anime, whatever the wording is, came in.
We just say Mappa did good job.
Yeah,
all right?
well done, you lot. So the setup is that Gojo, Satoru Gojo, has now been sealed away, and Kenjaku, this world's equivalent of like Hitler, is setting up the Culling Game. There he is. Pretty big deal. And right now, our main character, Yuji, is still, you know, coming with the fact that he feels like he just nuked Shibuya, even though it was Sukuna. And he's got his new big brother, Choso, of 150 years of age.
Do you like that? Do you like that they essentially got rid of one character who's like, yeah, I'm your big brother, to another character who's like,
but I'm actually a big brother.
I'm actually a big brother.
Yeah. It was,
Are you more leaning towards the people who are like, that's lazy writing?
I suppose that's it. Is it like him going, I really like Yuji having a older brother, but it makes no sense for Todo to be in this position? Or maybe he thinks Todo is, and I agree, you sparingly is a treat. But if he's there all the time, maybe you'd, you run out of the spark for Todo.
I mean, Todo only really has like 2 fights.
Yeah, but they're all
in the
incredible,
whole show,
you know.
But they're fan favorites.
So yeah, I mean, I guess he just liked that element, I guess, of having a character who's like looking out for Yuji or being the brother, I guess was his likeness.
Yeah.
The most important thing to talk about first is obviously the intro. The JJK obviously has very iconic intros.
Some of the best.
And this one obviously was a great intro, but maybe it's because the other ones sit with you longer. So it's like when your favourite band drops a new album and you're like, oh, okay, but then when you
After
come back to it,
listens.
you're like, oh no, this is just as iconic. So right now I'm like, all what's stuck in my head is Choso spinning in the air.
Choso ball.
Why?
Like Sonic.
Why? Because they're all doing cool things and they just have him do a ball spin. Like,
I don't understand it. Is it because he's like, that's how he feels on the inside? Like, he's just like...
Oh, like he still wants to be in his tube, in his fetal position, like he was for 150 years maybe.
No one knows. But I think it's this fun thing that anime intros are doing now. The Chainsaw Man intro with all like the Reservoir Dogs and Evangelion and like Big Lebowski, like everything, like the people who are making the intros are getting artsy. They're putting like passion in it. They're putting Western culture in it. An intro used to be this thing where you're really just showing snippets of the season to come.
You're showing the kids watching it, here's what the show is.
Yeah, but then now it's like we have references to like classic art.
Yeah, Ophelia, like Mackey's
The
references like
Scream.
Shakespeare.
You know, we have like heaps of stuff and it's like, these guys are getting creative with it. Like, you know, that can be its own thing.
And then they've got hidden little character thing. Like there's a sneaky little Sukuna looking in the mirror. What stuck out to me was the Nobito, because we don't get enough. It's one of my things that I wish now if we could have had some buffer, what's the term? Filler, not buffer. I'd have loved some kind of like big family clan war right now.
Yeah.
Like Gojo's gone, who's going to be? And like when they say the big three families, to me that implies there's other families.
Yeah.
It just, these are the big three and Gojo is one of them. And Gojo is a singular family for some reason.
Yeah.
Like there's no one else apparently for Gojo. I would have loved that because for me, the way the world's set up is that he was like the nuclear deterrent because he was there. He kind of like superseded politics, superseded anyone because if Gojo wants something to happen, what are you going to do? Stop him? So that was how like he basically nullified their politics. But now he's gone. It's like I'm amazed that he didn't think, or maybe he did and he was ill or couldn't be asked or didn't want to lose the momentum with Yuji. But I would have liked some like clan inter-turmoil, which I felt like we were going to get when I was reading it. I feel like some fans might feel they're going to get now with the introduction of Naoya Zenin. So Yuji is effectively doing what with his brother Choso?
He's trying to repent
Yeah.
for all the killing he's done. He needs to equal it out or like completely shadow it with doing good.
Yeah, and he's got the nice new black only.
Yes, no red inside of
And
his
as we
hoodie.
got set up in the end of season 2, Yuta Okotsu, the hero of JJK Zero, has returned from Africa with the zebras and, you know, has managed to gain 5 years in one and about 2 foot in height. And they fixed his hair. And he has taken a vow to kill Sukuna's vessel, Yuji, because the only reason why Sukuna's vessel was alive was because Gojo deemed it so.
The nuclear deterrent.
He has took that vow to go do that. But then also is that Nobito Zenin, who you may remember from the middle portion of season 2, got burned by Volcano Head, Jogo, and has now succumbed to those injuries of no armor being burned and has died. And his son, Naoya, even though he's the youngest son of Nobito, he's also the only son we know.
Yes.
So we don't know what those other brothers
But
are
he's
like.
also potentially the favorite. Like you put that photo up. Is that from the intro?
That's from the intro. It's a little clip, and it's of the Zenin with the, I guess, the Hay Army, he's like bringing in his boy.
Yeah.
It's crazy because the other sons aren't there. So it's like, and from what we understand about the Zenin clan is they only value power, magic, like they only value sorcery. They don't value women at all except as servants. Like they're very patriarchal
That's
society.
shown like evidently. Like, a lot.
And Naoya is basically the embodiment of all the Zenin rungs, basically. He's he dresses in a very, I sense, a traditional garb. He fancies himself a traditional sorcerer, by all means. I guess traditional sorcerers had like 5 piercings in their ear.
Answer me this, Steven. Are you subscribed to the channel because we're the best? Or are we the best because you're subscribed to the channel?
After the intro and all that, we get introduced to Naoya Zenin, and it's the day of his father is basically in critical condition. He has not seen his father or seemingly cares about his father, despite the little image we got in the intro of his father being very fond of him. And due to the fact that he is the favoured son, due to down to that he has inherited his dad's technique, which is the 24 frames per second sorcery projection.
I think that's also a reason to why he's obviously going to be the next head, is because he has the family technique.
But from what we learn later is that I think Nobito's the first guy to get that technique. And then it doesn't have as much prestigious as the weapon growing one that Maki's father has. Like that is a prestigious and obviously their ultimate prestigious one is the 10 Shadows. Like that's their
True. I forgot that they're all the same clan.
Yeah. Naoya rocks up to the meeting room where he finds his uncle's cousin?
Yes,
uncle?
his dad's brothers.
Yeah.
Ogi and Jinichi Zenin.
And I think it's Ogi.
That's Maki's dad. He's like the older samurai-looking guy. Jinichi is Toji's brother, and he's the more ogre-looking fella.
Yes. He's the most excited someone has ever been to see their dad die because he's seconds away from inheriting the most powerful, resources a sorcerer could ever want.
He's inheriting a dynasty.
He's going to become the 27th head, which is fitting because he's 27 years old, of the Zenin clan. And we get a really cool moment where the way they introduce is cinematic as shit. Where he comes in chatting shit and he punches the wall with because he has a big punch power, but also he's just strong.
We won't go into too many differences, but in the anime, they're fighting in a phone booth. That room feels tiny and they're these three huge dudes, even though Naoya was the smallest and Toji's brother punches through the wall.
Yeah.
Whereas in the manga, he misses. He just whiffs.
Because the sword comes out. But then when it cuts around, you see that Naoya had the hand ready. He's like, oh, I knew you were coming. I thought that scene was so good just because the way they introduced them, they're posed, the credits go first grade sorcerer. And then the light is waggling. So when the little lawyer comes in feeling like a bloody Coen Brothers character, they make a specific choice with particularly Naoya to be kind of looking kind of weird at times. His hands are down, even when he's fighting Choso. And in that, they all kind of look down and look kind of ghoulish or monstrous when the lawyer's talking. But the lawyer reveals that, yes, Naoya will be the guy, the head of the clan, and the only asterisk seems to be that if he wants to use any of the cursed tools, weapons, he needs at least one of the other two's permission, which he's like, fine, I guess that's fine. But then it's revealed that Nobito made a deal with Toji that if my son not only gets a power, but if Gojo is then off the map, he will become the new head, I guess.
He'll be welcomed into the family and made the head of the family.
And then I kind of only think that was emphasized more when Nobito, because we don't really see much of Nobito, but I have to imagine when he heard that his nephew had the 10 Shadows technique, he would have been like, fuck, and Gojo's got him shit, because it seems like that's a rare thing.
Well, remember in the hidden inventory stuff where Nobito's talking to Toji on the phone, remember? And he's like, if you have a son with the thing, I want $1 million for him. It's if he has the 10 shadows, I'll give you 10 million.
Something like that.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
They really want an heir because, it's not really referenced. We have to piece the history together, but potentially there hasn't been one since the last time there was someone with the 6 eyes and the infinity.
And they fought.
So potentially there hasn't been one since then.
Yeah. If Naoya wants to be the guy, he has to go and kill Potential Man himself, Fushiguro. Why is he called Potential Man? Because everyone always refers to him as having so much potential, but yet we never see the potential.
It's like one of those things where it's he's never won a fight, probably,
I've never looked into what Potential Man means, but I can just, I feel like I understand that. Yeah, in the show, it's it must, Toji attacks him because Toji's cornered on, when he's in that mode, I have to attack the strongest person near me,
and Sukuna wants something to do with him. So it's
what would Sukuna want?
There's all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Or really, Yuji's the outlier and Fushiguro is actually the main character, supposed to be. Logically, he's the main character in this story, but Yuji just happens to exist at
And then
this
the
time.
whole point is that Toji's barely in it, but his choices are pretty much what is a lot of why this is happening. He killed Tenjin Vessel.
It's referenced in episode 2. Everything started changing when this happened.
He even gave Gojo his full awakening. But anyway, so the big rock up of episode 1 after he has the discussion with his brother is when Naoya turns up. And it is a great, I think, taster of how good this animation is going to be for the rest of the series. I think the power is, at first glance, when I was reading it, I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. But actually, when you see it in motion, and particularly here rather than in season 2, they actually put a bit of speed on it, and it feels like Adam Wesker was our reference.
It looks completely different.
Even the blue shadowing of it, where before it looked like he had drawn out and then he kind of
actual frames, and there's a lot more windowing and stuff.
Yes, because it's a weird power where it's he would be moving at motion, which is why I think he wears the slippery slideys, because when he uses it, he comes out of it still with that motion, so he can stack them up.
Yeah.
Which is what he does when he bum rushes Choso like bloody Griffin in Jumper. Teleports forward.
Yes. I think it's something that has to be spoken about because a lot of the powers in this, especially when it's in manga form, a lot of it's interpretation until they just take a break and a little guy comes in and explains it. The way I like to think of it is that Naoya, or that 24 frames a second ability, is that he's a tool-assisted speedrun.
Yes.
He's able to go frame by frame, and he's also able to envision the next 24 frames of his motion.
But he has to predict what they're going to do. But given that it's 1 second of time,
yes,
what are they going to do in 1 second?
But the best part is, and it's something that I think a lot of people gloss over when they're doing like power scaling and like talking about abilities, and he mentions it in this, is that he always attacks with the idea that they're going to counter. Even if they go for a counter, he can use his ability to automatically dodge it.
The reason why I love Nao is he's probably I guess maybe outside of like Dash in The Incredibles, the best speedster that isn't going to break the story. When you look at Quicksilver in the X-Men movies, like that guy is so quick, there shouldn't be any problems ever.
Yes. He's actually freezing time.
It's ridiculous. Like, so with this, they give you a character who is limited. Both his power is limited, that he can only move so much inside of a second.
And he has to also obey his own rules.
Exactly. So he can't adapt. So that's why he gets caught in the end. But then also, reason why I love Naoya as a character, not as a person, whatever that means, but we will go into that, is that in order to give this guy a handicap, because yeah, if Naoya had like, I don't know, the logic of a Batman or a Bruce Wayne, logically, I should just get a katana sword, teleport essentially next to him, and then use my 24 frames to chop him into many little pieces.
Yeah.
But they have to give Naoya that hindrance of swords are for weaklings, a proper sorcerer wouldn't use it. And the fact that he's so cocky, if you played God of War Ragnarok, very Heimdall coded.
Yeah.
Like speedster, he's so sure of himself, the idea of him even losing. So when he fights Choso, he goes, oh, you're just a blood manipulator. Oh, I know. I'll move so quickly you can't even deal with it. I'll stab you, so then you have to make the blood not flow. So it doesn't even occur to him that maybe Choso is a little bit different. And it's his cockiness and sureness of himself as to why he loses. Because I get really tired. I know it's just fun of people going like 100% speed, 0% damage. As if ignoring the time when he punched Choso through a fucking pillar. Yeah, no power there, boys.
Yeah.
Like, because Choso, in the logic of the world, is literally built different.
He's also 150 years old.
Exactly, and has spent all that time imagining perfecting his powers, I guess.
His whole thing that is explained every time Choso fights is he can turn his cursed energy into blood that he uses to fight. But we never really see him run out of either of those things.
And it's incredibly convenient for him because the other blood manipulator has to have blood bags with it.
Yes.
So he has what you would want. He's like, oh, you can just literally change this into the thing that you can manipulate. Which is what some other writers would make blood manipulation anyway. And I really think that the fight was, I mean, I'm getting lost in it. I think the way that fight was shown, the way Naoya was shown, because he doesn't get much, poor Naoya. I think he had a good potential of being like an anti-Gojo, of being, particularly in a world where Gojo's gone. His dad's dead. He's effectively the fastest person there.
I like to think of it, and the anime, or the manga dips into it later on, but it's only with like select characters. They're talking about who's the strongest grade 1 sorcerer. And I think, honestly, in the absence of Gojo, Nai was probably the strongest grade 1 sorcerer.
Yeah, because he's special grade, which I think is I think someone said that's just like the Zenin clans were. It's like a different ranking system to the school ranking.
Because other than, obviously, yes, there's Yuta and there's Todo's like mentor. Yes, we get it. There are 3 special grade sorcerers out there at the same time.
But the strongest grade 1.
But also in terms of strongest character, in terms of overall power. Think about this. Gojo leaves, all right? The power vacuum happens. He's going to be in charge of the biggest JuJutsu family with all of the weapons, all the cursed like weapons, which is all special grade as well. He also has, I think, like his family has like essentially an army built into their family.
And we'll assume unlimited resources.
Yeah. And is pretty much just going to be the big 3 family. It's kind of implied they're in charge of the government. Like the government works with them to, they're all on the same page. So if Gojo didn't exist and his plan had gone through to become the head,
power in the political sense,
he would have been the main villain of the show.
Yeah, which I think is some ways a shame, because I think he's a very interesting character, because once again, he did a wonderful job of giving this character limitations, because, you know, if you played the whole logical game, he should have ninja stars and use his frames to just to throw ninja stars inside of a second.
Or do like pressure point stuff.
But because he's so cocky and so sure of his power, he plays with his food, and that's why he loses. And also, yes, Choso is strong. But I felt in terms of a narrative of a character, it was a really good fight. The other fight, of course, is between our two main characters.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
And it's really where episode 1 starts. What the anime has done that the manga hasn't is they take what really can be 2 pages, 4 pages, and they can make it 5 minutes worth of fighting.
Yeah.
They add a lot of stuff. Everything that happens with the chase scene, Yuta kills a massive monster, they crash through a cinema, they're fighting on like the seats. There's a lot of extra stuff that they add in here to fill it up. Yeah. Which is great. It's what I've always loved. Like the whole Geto versus Toji fight.
Yeah, the expansion on that is great.
It's 3 pages in the manga, but it's probably one of the best fights of season 2.
And then the Sukuna versus Maharaga is just incredible.
Yeah.
Particularly the Blu-ray finished version.
So I love that they're taking artistic liberties with this. Yeah. And I think it's where we're going to see Mappa or whoever's in charge of it, whatever, clean up where Gege had to essentially just rush through something because he's writing a story. He might be a really great story writer, but he might not know how to write action as well. Whereas this is where Mappa, whoever, can build out on it. They have this great blueprint. This is essentially storyboards.
Yeah.
But we get this great fight and you really get to see how strong Yuta is because just before that, Choso says, wow, Yuji's leveled up since the Shibuya incident. He's become, in the words of the manga, which is better, he's become a demon god.
Who says that?
Choso says that about Yuji.
Oh, Yuji, yes.
Yes, because Yuji just he doesn't piercing blood one of the cursed spirits, and Yuji just comes in and splatters it in one punch. And he's like, wow, now he has finesse and technique and proper control. He's become a demon god. And I'm like, that's fucking sick. And then Yuta
has the great entrance.
Jumps off a building, like superhero landings, destroys like half a bridge or whatever. Yeah. We just saw them get speed blitzed, but he shows that because he's so powerful, he has so much cursed energy, he's just as strong really as a Naoya because he can channel his cursed energy into his body.
He has so much power, more than Gojo, but that means he isn't particularly good at being efficient with his power because he just kind of lets it flood in because he's got so much. Because he's a rule breaker, like you, just like, well, hey, a third-rate sorcerer, you can see where the punch is coming because the energy's there. A good one has it maintained throughout all of them, so you can't tell. This guy's just showering in a storm of energy. I literally can't tell what's going on. Like, it's too overbearing for me.
Yeah.
And it's cool because, as they point out, that they're reversed. That Yuji has kind of the equivalent of like a low-level Maki heavenly restriction. He physically can do things without the aid of cursed energy.
Yeah.
Like he can run 100 meters in 3 seconds or whatever it was.
And Yuta even references it. He says, oh, are you like Zenin senpai?
That's it. Yeah. It's like, you're the equivalent because his sword just like grazes his cheek instead of like cutting through him. Whereas Yuta is fairly weak, but makes up for it by like, there's the bit where he uses his energy to basically destroy the theater as he jumps up, just kind of just explodes out.
Yeah.
And like, and
it's
obviously
like
the iconic moment where he just whacks Choso out in like one punch.
They do take some weird or like different interpretations of stuff. Like they miss the part where Yuji like punches a car at
it's
Yuta.
a shame. Cool moment.
When he's evading him and he goes into like that technical vehicle, the Hummer, and he finds the dagger. Just how I imagine that was him. Like he lands in there, he sees it, he grabs it. But in this, he dives through, he grabs the knife in like one smooth motion, like he knew it was there.
Yeah, but you go with it, I guess.
But then it's great. You get to see a bit of Gojo again, like a lesson he taught Yuji, like imbue weapons. But then he's just like, obviously he's never done it before.
Yeah.
He kind of gets the hang of it, but obviously that's all Yuta's fighting style is. So he just like dog walks him.
And we get the Rika reveal.
Yeah, well, Yuta's like, okay, I'm done now. Yuji snaps his sword. Rika just shows up.
And
holds on to it.
Eventually it's explained because even though I was reading them all the way through, I had forgot that he had got rid of Rika.
It's kind of explained in the end of Zero. So when he comes to terms and he promises that this is the last thing we're ever going to do and then you're free to go, I'll come with you.
Yeah.
That because he comes to terms with it all and it's like there's love and good energy, positive kind of energy with it. She says like, no, I'll stay and like we can...
Is that different to the movie?
We can be together. No, it's just not explained well.
Okay.
I think it's this weird thing that's up for interpretation because Rika's still there with him. I think she's just still imbued in the ring, obviously.
And she's his like cheat, basically. It's like he's
essentially 2 special grades in one.
Yeah.
Which really isn't fair. He doesn't use anything but his physical power and he like overpowers our main character.
Yes. Naoya is on his knees because stupidly, which I do like about this frame, is that even if Naoya had a broken leg, he could in theory still move at 1 second. He'd just hop He'd just have hop frames.
He'd hop so efficiently.
He'd hop so efficiently. But he decides that even though Choso has been proven to be more than meets the eye, he still thinks the best course of action is to just run directly at him rather than maybe here and there and come in on an angle. And so he gets fucked because he didn't consider that Choso had a super unique technique that took 150 years to hone, which is just like a mini blood explosion.
A blood grenade, essentially.
A blood grenade, which has never occurred to anyone, it turns out.
But it's also you're not just worried for all the blood,
Yeah,
you know?
that's what it is. So he's weak, and then because Choso isn't human, he's poisoned.
Sorry, Naoya.
Oh, yeah, because Naoya's poisoned. What's different is when Yuta turns up, he immediately heals Naoya, out of the nicest heart. But in this, he has a slight cold aspect of, hey, if you go and tell the big heads that Yuji's been dealt with, I'll heal you.
Yeah, I definitely got that a lot in this
I think
as well.
I like that. I quite like that
Yeah.
Yuta's a little bit more world-weary than when we saw him way back in JJK's era.
And I think it works well for Naoya's character as well because he has to get healed by this random, and also someone's watched him lose or seen him
Can't deal
and has
with
had
it.
to help him.
Yeah, and I hope that comes in because, slight spoilers, when we next see him, he's sitting at his desk when Maki walks in and he's like, whatever, Maki. I feel like he has my defense of why I like Naoya, one, he looks cool. I don't give a shit. He looks cool. I think the reason why people hate him is because it's a much more relatable thing to hate when someone is a sexist or a misogynist. Officially, I don't think he has a kill count. I don't think he actually kills anyone we see. It's implied he's probably beat up some women in his training days. I mean, he used to beat up Maki. He was a bully. But I think misogyny and sexism is a relatable thing that a lot of people have experienced that they hate. But then at the same time, people go, oh yeah, fucking love Sukuna, who literally nuked Shibuya.
Love Geto, wants to do genocide.
Geto, who raped a woman 9 times, aborted the fetuses, and then made Choso and his brothers. Oh, we're fan for him. But some guy who's basically had a bad upbringing.
Yeah. Choji, who abandoned his kids.
Yeah, and shot a girl in the head.
And also sold his children.
I'm a Toji Glazer. Forgot his own son's name. And then when he finally met his son, went, I'm not doing any parenting, and killed himself.
Could have technically just stayed around forever. And
yeah, because it literally could have stayed, and not aged. He would have been in his prime. But he said, not Zenin, huh? Good, and then went. So, but, you like Naoya, the guy who's like dismissive towards women? Can't have that. Which, they're all shit, is my point. Yeah. And he's the less shit of the shit. He's a Malfoy character, really.
We can love a character.
Yeah.
We can love a character.
I love him both as a character and just as he's explored in the small time he's here.
We officially get the death of Yuji. Yuta goes, stabs him. He's officially dead.
Oh. The technical, yeah.
The technical, because he made a binding vow, which still no one knows how binding vows work, that he would kill Yuji.
Yes.
All right? He kills him for a split second, brings him back to life.
Technically completes the binding vow.
Yes.
I've killed him. Hey, hang on. Oh, he was dead.
Whoever this power is that enforced it is like, on a technicality, he got us.
Like in Harry Potter, they have the unbreakable vow as well. It's
yes.
like one of
I think it's the exact same thing.
It's the same logic. We get the flashback of Yuji's, from his perspective. We're even seeing his eyes blink.
A bit earlier in the episode, Choso says to him, we have the same dad, remember? Your dad would have had scars on his head.
He's thinking dad.
You see that later on. I don't want to nerd out too much. In the manga, it's just before Naoya appears.
Yes.
So Choso says, don't you remember your dad had scars on his head? And Yuji goes, his eyes open up. He's shocked. And then Naoya appears. He's shocked because he remembers that it's his mum who has the scars.
Yeah.
He's not shocked because Naoya appears.
Yeah.
It's because he remembers that Kenjaku is actually his mum. And that's why it calls forward to maybe him having this memory or it just showing us his dad's just a nice, innocent guy. The mum died and Kenjaku took over the body.
Yeah.
And you see the mum walks in and she has the head scars.
As probably anyone would be in disbelief.
Yes.
No, she's here. She's fine.
She's here. But that also leads us to, it's just about to happen in this scene behind us, where Yuji actually starts accepting Choso as a brother. And he says, just consider him my brother. Yeah. He's like, Yuji!
Yeah, that's it.
I love it. It's probably the best scene ever.
But we get the sit down with Yuta and our two main characters actually having a chat. And then Fushiguro appears. So here we all are, our three mains, if you will.
Yeah, the Avengers are assembling. This is Cap, Thor, and Iron Man.
He's basically telling his man that we failed at Shibuya. It's not on you. I think we've had this talk about 3-4 times now, but I understand why we need it because a lot happened. And I think the way it works is that Yuji was almost present when Sukuna had taken over.
Yeah, I think it works both ways. Sukuna sees everything that Yuji is doing.
Yeah, so vice versa.
Yeah.
So he's still dealing with that guilt, and then he's told by Fushiguro, look, we got to move on because shit's already going down right now. We can't afford to like mope about it. So either you do something or we got to go.
Look, and I really need your help.
Yeah, and then Yuta reveals that Gojo in September had came to Africa to tell him that conscious that things are moving and, you know, we may be near. And he went also to see if there was more of the rope, right?
Yes.
Because the rope that broke his infinite void, right?
Yes.
Is that why it's this magic rope that Gege needs to write out because he introduced it when he didn't really understand the world.
It essentially does the same thing as not reverse curse technique. Curse amplification.
Yeah.
Where it can get through infinity or like other abilities that are barriers.
I think he did a very good job considering he wrote JJK 0 as just like a one shot, which is why he went ahead and gave Yuta like the ultimate power. I think he did a good job of like working around that because clearly in JJK 0 he had a diverse group of sorcerers. So then he has to go into, 99.9% of sorcerers are Japanese, but there's that 0.1 who happen to be from other countries. So,
Miguel.
like, he did a good job of explaining why Miguel happened, like, because, he was just there. But basically, Yuta's here to help out and sort of become another big hitter for the side because Gojo's gone. Yeah,
he really is the big hitter, and there's an important part where Yuji makes Yuta promise, if I do swallow the other fingers or if Sukuna comes back out, he says, I think you could kill me.
Because he said I could probably hold him even if I had all 5 at once. I could probably hold him back, but still.
But if he does, I need you to try your best to kill him.
Yeah.
Or to kill me.
Yeah.
And he says, yes, I promise.
Fushiguro is just basically saying, Culling Game, Tengen.
My sister's in trouble.
Oh, yeah, because she's now part of it. Because we've seen the little flashes. Kenjaku's been a very busy boy over the centuries. And it's all been for this moment of like, we'll get there.
We'll get there. We essentially get the A-team assembling. They meet up at JJK High. Maki's there.
Yuta's happy to see her.
And look, you don't really know why. They have to go meet this mysterious figure, Tengen. The reason why the Culling Games and Kenjaku and this whole thing's been able to happen, and you may have missed it at the end of the last season. I know I had to go back and watch it 10 times. Geto/Kenjaku used Mahito's power of soul manipulation. He touched Tengen's barrier, which is a barrier surrounding all of Japan, pretty much kind of. And anyone who was in that barrier, which is everybody, he awakened their latent abilities.
Yeah, and including the ones that he has planted.
Essentially sleeper agents. And so they need to go and meet with Tengen. And so far, that's all we kind of really know in the story.
And we know that Tengen is weaker, or we assume he will, because the whole hidden inventory arc was every 500 years he needs a new vessel, because if he does it, he becomes too powerful, or he becomes too much.
He starts to lose, but he also becomes crazier. I think it like refreshes his humanity because he's going into a human.
He keeps sorcery in Japan, right? That's basically the explanation, is that he's the barrier, that it stays in Japan. I don't know why he was so adverse to the idea of going to why can't England have magic? Why can't America? Like, why were we so adverse to just, it has to be only Japan? Like, I don't think the story would have been that much different. I think
that's a fault of Gege's, and it comes across in his like mid-chapter breaks. I think he's a bit of a shut-in type of character. I don't think he would feel comfortable writing cultural norms for other people. He really doesn't go into the Miguel stuff that much.
No.
He's like, they used the silk made by these scarab beetles to make this special rope. It takes 30 years to make 1 meter or something like that. Yeah,
something insane. But yeah, because I was there imagining what JJK magic would look like in England, So the equivalent of like taking Merlin or something and going, hey, Merlin was this special great sorcerer of the medieval period. It's a good point that you made, that he probably just wants to keep it to Japan so he doesn't have to worry about other cultures. Fair point. So they get the whole sit down and basically the Culling Game has started. So I paused that because I wanted to just remind myself of the Culling Game rules. And I'm not trying to be all hardy-har. Not that hard to follow.
No. When I reread it in the book, it's a 2-page spread. There's 8 rules.
And they all lead into each other?
Shall I do a quick little recap?
Do tell us.
All right. Culling Game rules. After awakening a curse technique, players must declare their participation in the Culling Game at a colony of their choice within 19 days. Any player who breaks the previous rule shall be subject to curse technique removal.
So if you want to keep your power, you have to go into the game.
Non-players who enter a colony become players at the moment of entry and shall be considered to have declared participation in the Culling Game. So if you are a non-curse technique haver, you do not have to go into a Culling Game. 4. Players score points by ending the lives of other players. 5. Points are determined by the game master and indicate the value of a player's life. As a general rule, sorcerers are 5 points, non-sorcerers 1 point.
Completely makes sense.
Players may expend or spend 100 points to negotiate with the game master to add one new rule to the Culling Game. However, players cannot add their own life's value to the amount that can be spent. So for example, I'm a sorcerer, I'm worth 5 points. If I have 95 points...
You just have 95 points.
I just have 95. I'm not worth 100. But makes sense. If you can spend 100 to add a rule as long as it doesn't break the game. In accordance with the previous rule, the game master must accept any proposed new rule unless it will have a marked and long-lasting effect on the Culling Game. So for example, you can't just be like...
End the Culling Game.
End the Culling Game.
What I like about it is that the rules are simple, but they could be used in complex ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, the last one here. If a player's score remains the same for 19 days, that player shall be subject to curse technique removal. I think it's easy when it's explained like that.
Yeah.
But where people are like, oh, you guys are going to have a real hard time with the Culling Games, is people take it from two characters explaining the rules to each other, which is two people using just like human conversational language, whereas this is very plainly written. It's not that complex. You're in the Hunger Games. The more kills you get, the more points you get. You use points to add rules.
Yeah. Forget about the 19-day entrance thing. Like, it's nice that he put that in, but it actually doesn't actually affect...
Yes.
Like the moment, and when I was reading it, I'm like, oh, and which we'll see here is that, yeah, maybe the pacing of Shibuya arc isn't here, but what you get is very creative characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe some of his best characters that he just came up with. I think that makes up for maybe the not super pacing of the Shibuya Incident, is that you get a new character who's really cool with an interesting, a fan favorite here is coming in, so it's basically Tengen is like about to explain, here's what we need to do more.
Yes, they go and at first they can't see him and then he's like, hello everybody. And that's kind of where it is.
I didn't even know what JuJutsu Kaisen was 12 months ago. So I haven't had to sit around waiting for years reading or years for the anime. So all this just has kind of flowed in pretty nicely for me.
It's taken a long time to come out.
Yeah, because Shibuya was like 5 years ago? 22?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we're at the point where people think of season 1 as being nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because some people, they were maybe 12 or 13 when season 1 came out, and now they're like 20.
I think this is going to set a new expectation in anime. It's going to set a new standard, which is crazy.
As much as I like Invincible, sometimes the animation maybe is a little bit iffy, even though they did good with the Conquest fight.
So far, there are no cut corners. And maybe it's because they put the most into these 2 episodes because they knew it'd be a movie, but I don't see it.
If I have to be super duper nitpicky, which isn't really, and I think it was meant to be more about what his character is, when Yuta is swinging his sword at Yugi in the cinema, it looks a little bit lame, but then I just put it down to Yuta makes up for everything because of his sheer power. He's not finessed in anything other than just the fact that he's got insane power, and it makes up for it. So I accepted it off that. And I'm talking about a 5-second animation moment. Other than that, everything's incredible.
So this week we had the release of the first 2 episodes of season 3, the Culling Games. But 1 month ago we had the release of
JuJutsu Kaisen Execution, because the first episode is called Execution.
I think that was actually a bit of a detriment, and let me explain. People didn't read what was going to be going on in that movie.
They thought they were going to get a 2-hour like season 3.
Exactly. What actually, if you looked at it for even 1 minute of time, it's a recap of season 2, the important parts, and then the first hour of season 3.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes. Slapped together.
Yes.
It's effectively a pointless movie now.
I saw a lot of hatred online because people thought they wasted their time and their money going to essentially watch more of a recap than season 3.
And then just 2 like nothing episodes that only had like 1 fight in it.
But firstly, you don't understand. If they had done the next 2 episodes after that, it would be just as boring. Or it would be more boring. The next 2 episodes after that, I think, are going to be pretty boring. I saw a lot of hate online, people saying it's not enough. They were expecting more.
Yeah.
And I think that's because prior to that, they got Chainsaw Man movie.
A whole arc.
And it was like probably at that point, the biggest thing that happened in Chainsaw Man.
Oh yeah, it's an iconic thing. And then they're doing this series of the Assassin arc, which is also fucking sweet.
And then just before that was Infinity Castle. You have both of these things, which is like their own standalone movies, whereas this was really just 2 episodes tacked together for a bit of fun.
But also just before, Hidden Inventory got like compiled into a movie with 2 minutes of extra. And I do see the point in that. Like I will probably watch that version of Hidden Inventory rather than the episodes, just because it'd be nice to watch it without 5 credit sequences.
Yeah.
To just watch it. But yeah, I think obviously with the success of all the anime movies of 2025, we can imagine a 2029 JuJutsu Kaisen movie, and we can all imagine what that movie will be.
Yes, it's going to be season 3, Culling Games Part 1, season 4, Culling Games Part 2, JJK the movie.
And then we'll see.
And then
maybe it's 2 movies. Maybe it's like
who
boof,
knows?
boof.
You know?
But
I think, no, it's good that we have this new renaissance of anime movies because now they realize they can do it.
and they've proven that there's money in this. It's not just some niche thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think Infinity Castle like broke a bunch of records. It was like the highest.
but that's the thing. And also, even though it's not, but K-pop Demon Hunters is like anime adjacent. Like it's got similar ideas, themes, and visuals. So I definitely think you can't deny that there's clearly an appeal and it's big money.
The Great Awakening has happened. If anything, we are Kenjaku and we're just hoping that this new era of anime/manga fandom begins. This is our first time talking about anime and manga. Be nice. Have a chat with us in the comments. Talk about how you felt about these first 2 episodes. Drop some anime or manga recommendations, or if you want us to talk about maybe the last seasons or things we're excited for the next one, do a spoiler talk. About what's coming up. Give us pointers if you want, what you want us to talk about in the next episode. Maybe break some stuff down. We can do some manga to anime direct comparisons. I'm happy to do that, especially because there's some interesting stuff coming up. Most of all, thanks a lot, guys. Subscribe. We just want to say a quick thank you to our channel members, Just Saw Messi, Tim Athanathi, RA9 Music, XX Panda Halo XX, Incident Electron, that's a very cool name, and HSM WIHS2. Thank you, guys. It means a lot. You keep us doing what we're doing.